What's that? Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I am excited to do that one. I told Sil today I was not such a good student because I didn't get a chance to, with all this, I
It's
didn't
all
get a
good.
chance to read it yet, but I'm still here and I'm going to figure this out. And by the way, Sue, I wanted to add on to what you said about worry that it's not productive. To me, I learned that there is a big difference between being empathetic and worry. You know, we can be concerned about a person, but it is such a huge drain on our energy to worry, even for ourselves. So practicing empathy towards the self is not the same as worry.
Exactly.
Especially when you do something about it instead of looping around in that loop of lunacy. You'll soon learn what those loops are all about and feeling and believing, and just recognize it and make a choice to shift.
Very cool.
Now you've already taken that one. See?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you, just superstar.
They're all great courses.
I mean,
I've done everything on the list. Now I'm waiting for Sil to add something else to it. So everything in here.
It's there already. Sue's ahead of this thing, but we're behind on Zoom, but ahead on the content. So it's cool. Yeah. I love it. Sue, I did want to ask you. I mean, the only reason Sue's doing the anxiety worry one is not because she has anxiety worry, but because she wants to do it with friends/clients. So yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, just to add it to your practice, I think is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Exactly. I did want to ask Sue, when do you gonna start with Bernadette?
I'm going to talk to her today and see.
Okay,
she's
good.
kind of been MIA.
I do feel that starting doing this with her now, even though we're still going through it, the overlap I think is really cool.
Exactly. Cool. And that's exactly what I was going to talk to you about. Yeah. I don't think there's any problem. We're ahead enough that starting it with her would be fine.
Oh no, absolutely. And also, if you do want me to come in and sit in and listen and maybe add a comment or two, I'm more than happy to do it. I do not feel it's necessary, but I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay.
And I do hope that you will record, if it's in some roundabout way, because they never to go over from a learning point of view. And you just tell her flat out, say, look, I'm recording for me so that I can go over it, because I also like to learn it, read myself. That's it. So, all right. Because then we can go over those if need be. And
mine set to automatically record on Zoom, so I won't turn it off.
It's very useful and powerful.
Just make sure she's okay with the recording.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. I love it, Sue. I love it. That's very cool. I'm really enjoying doing this from this double perspective point of view.
Yeah. Have a good day. Good seeing you, Sher. Good seeing you. Thanks, Sil. Say hi to Dina when you talk to her.
I will.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Fantastic. Yeah. I was just going to say, please don't. I mean, I'm doing this anxiety and worry. And I said, don't worry. I understand the intent is there, Sure. And you're in a situation where you can't anticipate exactly what's happening and how much energy and time you've got free. I know how that goes, especially when one moves, it's always more than you think there is. And two, it takes a lot of energy to move. I don't care much for moving. It takes a lot of
I mean, up in my brain, it was kind of funny because up in my brain, I have this image that, I'm this 20, 25 something year old, right? And then I've got all this limitless energy. No. But that's okay. Do exactly what I can do during the day, and I listen to my body and it tells me when it's time to stop, and I do. So I'm not too far behind, but I realize it's like, oh geez, my computer is still packed.
I got it. So yeah, no, please, no worries. Truly, just the fact that you said and mentioned that's more than enough for me. But I'm in no great hurry to do this, and I would rather have you do it when you've had time to really assess and do and give it full energy, than rush into it just because. For what? We're not no great time pressure here. It will come when it comes. So So yeah,
Right.
get all your things done and settle and all that. And it's cool. So how's the move gone at school? Everything
Yeah,
goes quite well?
actually, everything is good. I mean, I really like this space. It feels comfortable. It
Good,
feels
good.
safe.
Oh, that's
Um,
important. Not just comfortable,
yeah,
but safe.
there,
People forget, they look for comfort and they forget safety, or they look for
yeah,
safety and they forget comfort. So it's important to have both.
yeah.
Very cool.
And it's green. It's sunny. I have plenty of natural light everywhere, which is really good. Um, and I was just like, no, really, don't worry about the mess that it made. Let's worry about your anger right now. Where's this coming from? And so within just a few moments of addressing it wasn't the mess, he was just feeling anger and irritation. So when I got him to stop and recognize how he was
Wow.
reacting to his anger, it stopped. His positivity to react to him like I normally would. I responded. And I don't know if that, do you know much about the masculine and feminine energies? I'm sure you do. Um,
Oh yeah.
so
Oh yeah. Oh, it's very important. Very
So
important to
I've
pay
been,
attention to. Yeah.
I've been really working hard with developing more of my the feminine energies because I've lived in the masculine for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Something is telling me that that is where I have been stopping myself from believing in what I feel emotionally. So
Uh,
I don't know. I'm gonna, these are questions that are in the back of my head that I'm gonna carry through while we're going through this course.
you
So
know, exactly. And this is a very, very key part of it, to change our beliefs and the associated feelings that are related. So, most people feel like, most men feel feminine is a negative for them. Nonsense. And the reverse. They are just tools. It's the same of this whole shadow self. And this is, people think the shadow side is your evil side, your bad side. Actually, it's not. Especially in the original conception that Jung said. He said, look, the reason he's calling it shadow is because it's not evil. It's a part of you. It's just the side of you that's generally inappropriate. But sometimes it is appropriate. So they little use tools for specialist circumstances. So
yes,
same thing with positive and negative. Acknowledge it as being also a masculine, feminine. Acknowledge it as a part of you and use it as appropriate.
yes. Well,
I never could figure out guys denying this part of them. It's so foolish. It's like they go shopping, and to them it's the most terrible bloody thing experience when they were their wives, and they stand there all awkward and uncomfortable.
yeah,
But when they need to go shopping for their own stuff, then they love it.
yeah,
Hello. Seriously, you can't enjoy shopping with your wife, and no. It's idiot masculine logic, and they deny this. I love going shopping with women. I think it's fantastic. You get to hang out with them. You get to see what they want, what they're interested in. You get to exercise when they say, "What do you think of this?" You get to exercise discernment, etc. So come on, it's a great joy. But they just have to open up to that aspect a little bit. So yeah, I greatly enjoy my feminine side. I've never ever had a problem with it, and it doesn't diminish my masculine side. Not at all. No.
yeah.
Yeah,
I like
they
that.
don't get that. They don't get that. So yeah, I know some people have mistaken it, and okay, it is a thing that I don't care about people thinking I might be gay or have a gay tendency. It doesn't bother me in the least, but it does happen. I'm not fond of the inaccuracy of it, but hey, you want to think nonsense, that's on you.
Yes,
So you do get that a little bit, where people tend to, because they are so used to these polarized extremes that are, masculine and feminine, which is just absurd nonsense stuff. I want to be able to be everything, for Christ's sake.
yeah.
So I don't want to limit myself to only masculine and only feminine. No, hell no. Sorry.
Mm, mm, yeah.
I mean, show me a guy who isn't interested in interior design, and I'll show you a guy who's willing to live in an absolutely ugly house. And there are some of them, but in general, they all care about it, right? They just don't want to show they care about it. Yeah.
Because it's
It's too
supposed to be
funny.
a feminine trait. Yeah,
Exactly.
I was
It's
going to say
supposed
it. I
to
mean,
be. Exactly. Just
but
supposed to
that's how
be.
men
But
are. That's where the creative side in men comes from. Creativity isn't necessarily logic. It's
exactly.
abstract. Creativity is abstract, which is the feminine
Right.
energy. Correct? Okay.
But you know, the part that I enjoy the most is when they don't realize that they display their feminine side. You watch guys that are into cars, right? I'm sure you've known plenty of
Oh,
them that
yeah.
are really into their cars, right? And they
Yes.
make their car beautiful, and then they wash the car and then they polish it. What's the last thing they do when they polish those cars? It's always the same. It's that same little loving, caring rub, right? And that final little bit of polish, and then they stand back and they bask in the glow of their creation, right? Now,
Yes.
tell me that that's not that last little polishing rub, you know, that last one before they finish, right? Tell me that's not a feminine thing. That's completely, totally feminine side.
And it's very
100 bloody
nurturing.
percent, you know. Come
Yeah.
on, you know, I mean, some women do the same thing with their kitchen floors or hallway floors, you know, they polish it and they get that same, it's the exact same bloody thing, but they don't see it. That's not it. And they'll
Nurturing.
talk about how much they love their cars. It's too funny.
It is
So,
definitely.
you know, they don't really know, you know. And then when they restore the cars, of course they're into interior design when they got to design the interior, and if the interior has been completely trashed, you know. It's too
Mm-hmm.
funny. It's too funny, you know.
You know, the way they like their haircuts,
Yeah.
the beards, all that is nurturing and self-care. So
Exactly. And you know, the
that's
way
all
they
the
tend
feminine
for their gardens. I mean, the way they, you know, guys are into the gardens, boy, man, they nurture the hell out of those gardens. It's completely feminine, but you know,
yeah.
it's just foolishness, labeling. So we want to really be cautious of labeling, you know. So that's why I like appropriateness, because appropriateness is always appropriate. That's it. Do what's a bloody appropriate, end of story, man. Forget about the bloody labels. Yeah.
There you
Right.
go. That's
Yeah.
it right there. So
Transcend
on
the
that note
labels of
though, of
appropriateness.
the energies, okay, so they say that the feminine side is supposed to be left, masculine is right on your bodies. Now, what would you say to, okay, like for me lately, I know that I've got, well, at least they say I do, anyways, RA, rheumatoid arthritis.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed though it's predominantly always on my left side, and I have been really leaning into developing more of my feminine energy and bringing that more forward.
Yeah.
Why does my
Okay.
left side hurt so much? I mean, my
Yeah.
wrist, my
Yeah.
elbow, shoulder. What's that about?
Okay. Two possible reasons. I mean, I'm assuming you're right hand dominant, yes?
No, I'm left-handed.
Oh, and so this is the arthritis mostly on your left hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And you're left-handed. Okay, then it's then we can take that out of it. You know, because sometimes it's just because there's less muscle in the body, and now it's quicker to react. You know, it's just less healthy than the dominant side typically, right? Okay, so we can take that out of it. The right brain is the one that is, you know, creativity and imagination and feeling and emotion and, you know, intuitive, all of that stuff. So
Okay.
if there is the arthritis, which is a restrictivity, yes,
Yes.
right. So this would mean that that side of your brain, or at least could indicate that that side of your brain is not getting enough action. Yeah.
Interesting. So what would
Yeah.
the
So I would recommend doing creative stuff, purely like just a drawing or, you know, some art thing, a visual thing would actually be good. You know, some kind of just splashing with colors or anything of that nature. It just like when CJ goes to art class. I don't know, whatever his art class stuff is, you know, do it with him or take some art stuff. It'd be really cool, or play a musical instrument maybe, but that can be musical. Music can be very mathematical too. So that's why I don't recommend music necessarily. You know, because music is based on math, where art, you can break it down into squares and rectangles if you want to, but that's not the point here. You know, the point is just to be imaginative and creative
Yeah.
and really let that run wild and free and just make up like nonsense fantasy stories that are completely ridiculous, not logical.
Okay.
That'd be useful too. You know?
Okay. I know. I
Yeah.
know.
So like with PJ, get into absolutely telling him the biggest bullshit stories you can possibly imagine, right? You know, like what do they call them? Tall tales, right?
You
Right,
do that
right.
with
I
the
mean,
spelling
seriously, like
word.
really get into it, like really get making up a real preposterous story,
Yeah.
because you have
do
to be
that with
creative, you know.
I do that with his spelling words when I quiz him at night over his spelling words. I'll just create a random story with all of the words. And sometimes he'll catch the words and look at me like, Grandma, you didn't use that right. And I'm like, so?
There you go. There you go. There you go. Exactly. But think of it this way: so all your life you've been focused on survival. Yes.
Yeah.
Plotting and scheming on how to survive. Plotting and scheming, that's a left brain thing. In other words, that's right side of the body,
Okay.
and that's why it's typically regarded as masculine. Not that women can't plot and scheme. Of course, they're fantastic plotters and schemers. But, in terms of planning and how to survive and, how to make a living and all that, that's, typically regarded as masculine activities. It's, of course, nonsense that it's masculine. But still, forget whether it's masculine or feminine, it's still a left brain side. Whereas it's the antithesis of being creative and free and being, just carefree and all of this stuff and being childlike. So that intuitive, imaginative side, this is what you want to engage in. So if you read stories, read fairy tales, fantasy stories, science fiction, stuff like that.
So the logic is the right side
Of the body and the brain are crossed over, right?
Oh, boy. Okay.
So the left brain, it controls the right side of the body for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it makes it a little bit confusing. Yeah.
Well, would we go and do that for?
I have no idea. It just makes no sense, but who knows? I guess just for balance, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know. Like
Not
Mark.
amazing how that is. It's truly fantastic. Now, keep in mind, people tend to see this left brain, right brain. Okay, either you sort of logical and analytical, or you carefree and you're an artist and all this. That are not the only parts of the brain. Right? They forget you have a brain stem. They forget you have a hippocampus and a hypothalamus, and you got the forebrain and the slightly. You got all sorts of bloody brains in there. So just be aware that these are just aspects of ourselves. They are not the total. And we want to use ourselves with that totality where we're putting all of our brains together,
That's what, to me anyways, that's what I'm striving for, is balance with everything. Balance between, my shadow and the light and the dark, balance between all of it. I just would like to be balanced for once and not to one extreme or the other,
Yeah. So the other thing in with the rheumatoid arthritis, since this is in your left hand, so it's a right brain thing. It's another reason why I'm advocating art. Do something where you're drawing, painting, and you've got to use that hand, right?
Yeah. I find it interesting too, though, because at first I thought it was because of all the unpacking. And then it was like, no, what have I not been doing? What have I not been feeding my soul with for a week now? I haven't been feeding my creativity for a whole week. And now I'm starting to feel it. So
right. And then again, too, when you write, you write your stories by hand, or do you type? Okay,
no,
good.
No, I write them by hand because I know that there's that connection from the brain down to the paper, and I can release more that way.
Right. And have you been doing that lately over the past couple of weeks? Have you been writing?
No, I haven't been able to.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's an extra benefit of the writing. Now, you do want to convert it onto the computer for your records and search and all that. But still, for original creativity, to write with that right hand and keep it in practice, that's a good idea.
Yeah, still, a lot of times
writing can be very logical too. So we do want to write, like write nonsense limericks or, haikus or stuff like this, just get into or fantasy stories. But still, the painting, I think specifically, because it's a visual element, would be very useful, because I don't think you have that much. Your creativity is non-visual, yes?
Right. Yeah, it's all up here. The only other time that it does come out visually would be like if I'm doing which I really miss doing crochet, knitting, needlepoint. I really miss doing needlepoint.
Exactly. See, again, you're missing it. It's not in your life because you're so
Right.
focused on doing all the things that are necessary. The things that you regard as unnecessary are falling by the wayside. But now you've got to realize being creative, being imaginative is necessary
Because of play.
because of the balance.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because of the
It's
balance.
necessary for balance, right? It's necessary for the arthritis.
Oh my goodness. Look at this. I'm learning so much already. Okay. All right. I never looked at it as being necessary for balance. That's a new one for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it's
never
critical.
felt
Let's look
like
at the two brains. If one gets overbalanced with the other, it's obviously going to cause problems.
oh my goodness. Well, this is making a lot of sense because it's like, all right, rheumatoid arthritis is always equal. You know, you get it in both wrists, you get it, it's in both knees, it's always on both sides of the body. It's never just one side, which was telling me,
That's
okay, this.
fascinating. Yeah, yeah. See, I was wondering about that because I don't know specific about the disease. I'm just going with the sort of obvious logic of it from a universal abstract point of view.
Yeah.
So I did assume that it was both sides, but I wasn't
Yeah.
for sure. That's good to know. Very, very, very interesting. So it's cool. So that's the exercise and that balance between the creativity. And what I would recommend is when you're doing a creative stuff, start with maybe just making those color paintings, which is just color, and you're just a color on the canvas, and you're putting these splotches down. You start with a splotch and you put another one down, but still the what makes it a painting is that you're balancing all these random things. It seems random, but you in the end of the day, when you look at those color paintings, just color, right? They balanced, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's very cool. That's very, even though it looks like scribbling and all this, like artists like Kandinsky or whoever, they look like children's drawings. But if you really pay attention, you'll see how much balance there is. And even though it seems imbalanced, there's a balance to the imbalance. It's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
man.
like Picasso's cubism, balanced, that Salvador Dali surrealism. It's always balanced. So the balance is the key. The balance is the key. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not just that splashing things randomly. The
Yeah.
creativity comes from the balance. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to be a great artist, is my point here. You don't have to have any artistic talent to do this,
I don't, I have, when it comes to painting, I've always told myself, whether I'm not, I believe it, I don't know. But I've always told myself, oh, I can't paint. I've seen other people painting. And it's like, oh, mine never looks like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't even think of this as being painting. Think of this as being creative. It's a big difference. So you're arranging colors, you're arranging shapes, you're balancing. Whatever you do, just pay attention to balancing it, and there's your creativity, right? And to add variation, to add the unusual, and then balance it, to add some imagination. So that's it. Anything. Yeah. So
I like that.
and
Okay.
like we did with Frauke, you can make your own neurographic things just for the hell of it. Just okay, let your hand just go and run a line, not those squiggly lines that she does, but just like loops, right? Just like loop it through the page, however you're going, right? And then you say, okay, now I'm finished looping it. Now let me color in the different sections and balance those colors. Let me round those corners to give it some. Let me make some lines thicker, some lines thinner. You just expand and contract with variations. A little bit more here, a little bit less here, color here. Okay, well, another color there. And then you balance the colors and you see what is appropriate, and you just keep going. And it's very creative and it's very relaxing. And it's very therapeutic because that brain takes over after a while, and you just get inside that brain and just let it flow. It's very cool. No logic to it. Just do what you feel is appropriate. Yeah.
I just wondered, the question just popped into my mind. Is balance one of the underlying themes of the way of impeccability?
Say again now.
Would you say that it's okay? What I just wondered, is balance?
Oh yeah. A
very big underlying theme of
absolutely. Oh yeah. Oh, it's huge. Absolutely critical. Yes. Appropriateness. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, capital B balance. Yeah, that's interesting that we've never specifically gone, but yeah, it's a very big deal. I mean, ask Erica about capital B balance and you're going to get a lecture.
it just caught me. I was just like, wait a minute. That's
Yeah. Wow, I'm amazed it never came up in this, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, capital B, absolutely key point. What is appropriateness but capital B balance? We are balancing context and motivation, right? Putting them
yeah,
together. So exactly, we are balancing sensibility when we are being appropriate, right? We are balancing long-term, short-term, intermediate term. We are balancing all of that together. So yeah, so it's a very, very
why the mind body connection is so important, because if we get severed here from here, then we cannot see, we can't balance the light with the dark. Okay.
Exactly. And look at what we said right in the beginning of Wave Impeccability. We want to feel what we have come to understand. If we don't feel it, it's not real. Because if it's all in your head and it's not in your body, you've got imbalance essentially. So we are balancing body and mind, intellect and feeling. Yes, it's very important to have that balance. Now,
Okay, in a second.
understanding needs to be balanced with application, right?
Yes. Intellect and feeling. Okay.
So we made a big point in Wave Impeccability to say it's no good to just have this realization, oh, this stuff is wonderful and brilliant. You need to be able to apply it. And that application balances your realization. Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Balance.
I never caught. Okay. See, does that tell you like where the brain was and where it is now? All right.
It's all good, sure. It's all good. Learning doesn't have a timetable to it.
Nope, it doesn't. It's definitely not linear. Yeah. No.
It doesn't. As long as we're learning, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I just think it's cool.
This is very cool stuff. Very cool.
Just got that today.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that was
and it's so fascinating. We were just talking about this yesterday, right? Capital B balance is an art.
Yeah, it is.
It's a massive art. Okay, that gymnast on the balance beam. All right, girlie, you've got nice balance, fantastically cool. But all right, I don't see your balance as being an art. I see it more as a skill. Why? Because, well, let's see how good you do on that balance beam. If I throw out random gusts of wind at you, if I throw random buckets of water at you, if you've got missiles coming at you, let me see how much you balance then now. All right, that's a different story. See, so that's life, right? You're walking on that narrow beam with all this random shit being thrown at you all the time, right?
Oh my
So
goodness.
capital B balance is an art. It's an art. It's an art.
Just like in life.
Exactly. So what is impeccability? But the art of balancing your energy.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly. Exactly. Again, you overdo things.
Balancing your goodness, right?
Balancing your energy specifically, which is balancing your goodness too. Yes, but your energy specifically. Look at you now. You're moving and you're going, and you are probably a little bit imbalanced in terms of your energy usage, and you overdid it, and now you're exhausted.
Yeah.
You've got imbalance in your life. See?
Yep. Yeah. And so today I'm having to write that balance by telling myself whatever gets done, gets done.
Exactly. Now, if you'd stopped a little earlier and, not gotten overexhausted where you needed to compensate with overrest, then you would have had a more even balance and you would have been functional today. Yes. And all you had to do was be slightly less productive yesterday. But actually the overproductivity caused a overall decrease in productivity, right? You gained one day. You gained a little bit in one day to sacrifice the entirety of the next day, pretty much. Yeah.
I did, but however, there was some massive energy yesterday that had to be expelled.
Okay.
The energy was it was a lot of anger that I was holding back, and I had not been aware of it. And as I kept telling myself, why am I feeling like I have to control time? And I kept telling myself, that I've got to get this done. To me, that comes down to trying to control time, which is not good energy management, as I know. So I see the diamond.
Oh, no, in the video.
No, I don't see one right now. There's just okay, hold on. No. Oh yeah, now I do. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. And I was trying to do that yesterday. I was
Yeah.
trying to control time
There you go.
by just like racing and trying to beat it and expending.
Exactly.
But I
Exactly.
was angry and I didn't realize how angry I was. So
Yeah.
last night when I did it's called holotropic breathing. So when
Uh-huh.
I was practicing that, some things came up last night and I realized that even though I let go of some resentments of my dad, I was still very angry at him for the new developments that have come out, even more.
Oh, very interesting. I'm interested to hear. But before we go there,
Mhm.
balancing time is absolutely important. It's very important, and energy. If we don't look, you got into an imbalance and things went out. Now,
Mhm.
is anger not a prime example of imbalance?
You said it's not an example of
Is
imbalance?
is is
Yeah.
is anger is just an excellent example of imbalance. Yes,
Yep.
when
Yeah.
we get
Yeah.
angry, we're out of balance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I couldn't quite figure out why, because I woke up yesterday morning and I was feeling already irritated and it was like, all right, what is going on with me? And I couldn't figure it out. And so I just kind of kept pushing through the mountain. Um, what I called a mountain anyways, which was all the boxes. And I kept pushing through it. And then I um I read then I came across this book and I did a video on it. It was really pretty cool. But I came across the book and it's called Housekeeping in Old Virginia. And I had
Ah,
never really read the preface before. I bought the book years ago because it had some really fascinating history. It had it has household tips and all of this stuff, but anyways, the book was originally written for the refined ladies of Virginia to keep proper and happy homes and keep their husbands happy and home instead of
yeah,
going out to saloons.
yeah.
So but the author, what struck me about the whole thing was that I was really feeling very angry about control. And anyways, long story short, you'd have to listen to the video, but long story short, my takeaway on after I read a part of her preface was that um, your husband will validate you and find you of worth if you keep his home happy. And I
Yes.
thought, what am I doing here? Who am I doing this for? I'm busting butt, trying to get all these boxes broke down to give a pretense that everything in my world is perfect if I get all of this done on time and meet my ridiculously set high standards and expectations of myself. I had set
Exactly.
the bar for myself so high that I was telling myself that I'm not going to be worthy if I don't meet my expectations. And that was,
Imbalance.
there it is right there. Um, so maybe that's why balance, because I'm already feeling like my shoulder is releasing. So isn't that funny?
Ah, very good. Now let's look at anger a bit more closely also.
Mhm.
Anger is an imbalance response to imbalance.
Okay.
Right? When we are dealing with the outrageous, the preposterous, the scandalous, the mean, the nasty, distortions of some kind that are imbalances, we react with anger because it's a way of balancing that absurdity with more absurdity in a way, right? Or we feel and believe this is the appropriate way to deal with that stuff because we've never been taught that we can balance that with understanding, with insight, with perception, with discernment. Yeah, that's just what we've been taught. When people do crazy stuff and outrageous stuff, the only way to balance it is with anger. But it's not. It's not. It's definitely not.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I mean, what your father did is anger worthy in the usual logic of things. Absolutely. So okay, it is not necessarily to say that anger is inappropriate. If you're going to be angry at your father, be angry and say you did what was crap and horrible and bad, and I'm angry at you. I'm going to express my anger and get it out and get it over and done with and move on.
Yep.
As long as your anger is something that is a release and then it's appropriate, fine, cool. Okay, there you go. Great. There's no negative to the anger in this case, unless you let it influence. If it's a personal expression as a mechanism to get rid of it and balance the rubbish that he did with appropriate anger, there you go. But do it and get it done with. Say,
And I
okay,
think that's what I
I've
did.
expressed my anger now. I've got that appropriate out. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I think that's what I did
And
as far as like pushing through all that energy and pushing it out of me, and then I didn't do anything with it. When I recognized what I was angry about, then I just wrote about it and I wrote it down and I put it away and it's done.
there
I'm
you
not
go.
going to post it, not going to do anything with it. It's
Yeah,
just, it's
yeah,
done.
yeah.
So I woke up this
Because
morning.
the last time we spoke, you said, sorry, Sher, you dropped off there, so I didn't hear the end of what you said. Say
Oh,
again?
I'm sorry. Oh, I just said that I'm not going to post it or anything because it was very private to me. It was
Good,
anger
good.
that I wrote it down and I got it out, and that was all I needed to
There
do.
you go. Exactly. And see it as appropriate to balance. You are balancing nonsense with nonsense in a sense. Okay, good. Because, the last time we spoke, you said something which stuck with me. And I said, oh, that's really interesting. And you said you expressed about, you said, I don't really know why my father did what he did. And then I don't remember your exact words after that, because I typically tend to remember the abstract, not the exact words. But the thing that you did after that was what concerned me a little bit, or like alerted me, because you basically sort of said, I don't understand what he did, but whatever. And okay, I just accept it for what it is. And then you sort of let it go. But you were kind of accepting of it, and you weren't critical of it as being rubbish and nonsense and, absolute outrageous crapola. And that was a bit concerning for me. But now, obviously, there's come the realization that, oh, no, this is shit and rubbish that he did. And it is worthy of some sort of reaction. Anger is one of those, I mean, it could be disbelief. It could be incomprehension. It could be mind blow. It could be, holy crap, I mean, how fucked up are you? I mean, how pathetic are you? How indulgent are you? I mean, how selfish are you? And all this stuff. Many different reactions to it. But still, anger is the simplest one in this case. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had repressed. Well, okay, it's not that I was hiding it. My anger was coming out in many different ways, always, most of my adult life. I mean,
Exactly.
I really I wasn't aware that how angry I was. I had been taught, don't talk about it, stay silent. Basically, I kind of look at it as being a silent witness. I was an observer for so many years of those memories. So after I wrote about it, then and I just put it away. It was like, okay, why didn't I do that so long ago? Doesn't matter. Point is I had to come to that point yesterday where I learned so many things in one day, which is number one, I don't need to set such high expectations of myself, that I am a human and I am capable of only doing what I can do. So that kind of reminded me of my energy management, which brought me to the point this morning of looking at imbalance. And that's why I brought that up, because I was like, that's why I asked you about the energies, the feminine, masculine energies, because I know we carry both. All of us carry both.
Exactly. And we need to balance them. Exactly.
And we need to balance it. And that's when I recognized, okay, why is just the left side hurting? It's like, so what am I not paying attention to? So I don't know if that means that there's still more anger that needs to come up. If it does, I'm going to let it and then let it pass. But I certainly don't want it to come out in my actions. And so that's honestly why I kept telling myself all those years that I was a bad person.
Exactly.
I was carrying all that anger, telling myself that, oh, well, my gosh, I just must be this unworthy, unlovable, bad person.
If you are carrying anger and you feel anger is this thing that the bad people do, well, I'm feeling angry all the time, I must be bad.
Yep.
But you've got a legitimate reason to feel angry. There you go. Now,
yes,
do you have a legitimate reason to stay angry?
Mm-mm.
Different question. Feel it, get it out, express it, rant and rave, hit the punch bag, scream and shout, dance about, but let it go and
Yes.
move on.
Yes.
If you don't get it out, though, it festers. So, it's like that boil, and you got to get that pus out. That's
Yeah.
it.
I go through this process. I learned a process, and I don't remember exactly where I learned it from. Or anyway, basically, what I start with is I acknowledge the current circumstance. I acknowledge what's happening in the moment, what I'm feeling, what I'm looking at. All I do is acknowledge it. I don't react or respond, because emotions do not need a reaction or a response. We can just look at them, we can observe them and witness.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
what I do when I'm done is I breathe. I breathe through it. I take a couple of deep breaths, and I just sit with it before I decide what it is I'm going to do or what it means to me. And then I'm able to let it pass. And that's pretty much what I did last night with when I recognized how angry I was. And then I just started writing. I was crying and writing at the same time, but
Oh, good.
this morning I was okay. I slept really good. I didn't wake up.
Yeah.
So,
It struck me last time we spoke how you resolved things with your mom, but that comment said to me things are not resolved with your dad.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. That's a chapter that I'm still working on. And honestly, it's something that I wrote that really is kind of bothering me, which is, that he is, basically he's turned to dust already in the ground. And even though I am, how did I put it? I don't remember now, but the thing is the memories are still all the time so vivid and so fresh. They feel fresh anyways. And I know that that's part of our mind. Our mind does that. So I still struggle a lot of times with trying to push the memories away from me of what he did, of all the times that he did things. And I think a lot of it is because I had held on to that anger. I wasn't releasing it.
Exactly. Exactly. So, when you let those memories surface and face them fully and face them with full sobriety and say, okay, here it is, memory. All right, I've been suppressing you because okay, well, let me look at you now. I'm in a different space. There used to be really impossible for me to face and deal, but not anymore. I can face you now. I can deal with you. Okay, come on, monsters, bring it on. And you go into it willingly. And then, oh, well, you're not so bad. All right. And then they disappear. It's very simple. When a ghost comes at you and it goes, boo, and it tries to scare you, and you're like, seriously, that's all you got? And they're like, well, yeah. And then they just go away, because what's the point? Remember the movie Beetlejuice, right?
Yes.
When they come and then the people aren't scared and like, well, okay, we can't really do anything to you. It's just ghosts are just an idea of fear. But once you realize that fear is an idea, it goes away, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So it is, you're afraid of facing it, but it's not really. It's just an idea. It's not really an actuality. So we have some advanced skills too that we can use.
Okay.
Get really into the deepness of it.
Okay.
And in terms of something like dealing with your father, we have to go beyond that because he doesn't make sense. And in life, we struggle when things do not make sense. So let's apply that profound exercise. I'm actually going to speak about this on Friday in the Facebook Live.
Okay.
Which is, what if you deliberately chose the circumstances of your birth? Right? Knowing what was more or less, being able to at least understand and extrapolate, you understand the psychology, you can see where this is likely going to go. So, right? In other words, we're assuming you chose that father knowing who and what he is and what he was likely to do, right? Because it's something that's happening in your immediate childhood, and it's there's a few years out, so there's a high probability, okay, you choose this. Why would you choose this for yourself as a good obviously you had some good reason for choosing that particular father, right? And that whole force of circumstance that led to your mother sending you away and the perception that she didn't love you and all of this. Why would you choose that? What possible good reasons could you have had?
I just, it's mind-boggling to me why anybody would have.
It is, but really think about this. Take your time. Take your time. I mean, come back to me. I don't know however long it takes, but really think about this and really stretch that imagination to say, oh gosh, what did my soul need to learn? What did I get out of this in the longer overall big picture term? Because these are soul questions, not our temporary lifespan here, right? This is a big deal, and your soul doesn't care about the typical morality of people. So it's trying to teach you something profound, at least this point, that there is absolute ridiculous, illogic, peculiar abortions and distortions of logic and reality exist in the world. You may have had a very kind, loving, happy soul, and that's just accepting of everything else. Everybody's all good, and the denial that people like this actually exist. So now you are forced with a hard reality. See, just for one possible good reason for it, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, with your mother, sending you away under those conditions where she didn't say goodbye and you thought she didn't love you. Doesn't that force independence of being?
Yes, it does. She did that for, oddly enough, I understand why she did it. Part of it was to protect her. The other part of it was just, she was what I call splitting. I mean, she just
overwhelmed and conflicted with guilt and all this, right? So again, in the longer context, right, from the universal point of view, Sher got to really understand a deeper psychology, conflict psychology, got to understand it. I mean, you can understand your father very easy in somebody who crossed the line in between propriety and sensibility for the reasons of personal indulgence. He knew what he was doing wasn't cool and right, because he told you to be quiet about it. It's your big secret, right?
Yep.
So he knew what he was doing. So you get a first-hand lesson in the intricacies of conscience and deliberate decisions. He stepped over his conscience line, for his own personal gratification, and it cost him dearly, right?
There's something about human behavior that, if this were true, that, if I did choose this life, there's something about human behavior here that I'm supposed to learn.
Yes. Also, you got to learn about trauma, and being a victim and all of this stuff, struggle and hardship from the inside. Maybe some part of you said, look, sure, it's easy to be perfect in perfect conditions, in perfect circumstances.
Just like the balance beam.
Exactly. So yeah, great. It's wonderful. We all applaud and clap, but yeah, big deal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I have to write that down, that balance beam. Okay. Because that's, now my brain is starting to cook.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in the Biala series, which is also part of the Mormonis project, and it's a big long course, the origin story of it, the origin story for the new nobility, it's a story about an angel that comes down to earth to be mortal, because to be perfect in perfect conditions, it's no big challenge really. It's not much to it, and it's flawed, it's hollow. So when you're saying, look, it's not just that I want to learn to be perfect in imperfect conditions, but I also want to understand it from the inside, right? So that my understanding of that psychology is real. If I really have a desire to truly help, I want to be able to come at it from the inside. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that was the point of the Biela series, that it was basically,
or at least that chapter of it, right?
Understanding. Yeah, the origin story is one of my favorites. And then there's I've got one other favorite section in there too. It's when they introduce, why can't I remember her name? She was the one I resonated with so much. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
When Ursula chooses to be an aspirant, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's Ursula. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much of that stuff that I still, honestly, I still go back to my books. I'm really excited too, by the way, because I can set the Way of Impeccability books up down here where CJ has access to them.
Nice.
So yeah,
I love it. Yeah, somebody else was saying the same thing. Janelle, with her kids, that because she does a lot of homeschooling with them, that she brings it in, and when she does her stuff, she shares with them, and that's a huge deal. So yeah, it's a very big deal. Yeah, as
This
soon as I'm
program,
able,
honestly,
I will make an effort to get the other programs printed as well. You know,
it
it's
has
just
honestly really helped me with my parenting of CJ. It
yeah.
really has. I remember every single thing, most things I should say, that we talked about as far as when it comes to the parenting. Um,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really important.
If you look at the way of impeccability as a sort of a general guideline for parenting, it's fantastic
Yes,
through
it
that lens. Because now the magic of it is when you look at it through that lens, you need to apply it, because you can't be sharing it and saying, hey, this is valuable, unless you don't apply it. So it's very
exactly.
massively valuable. And it's a constant refresher mechanism when you look at it through this lens of parenting or leadership, same thing. If you're in business, look at it through that lens, and share it with your employees, and that's it. You will then leverage yourself to apply it more and more, because there's never that we know it. Yes, we know it, but there's always more. So a constant refresher is always appropriate.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm very, very, very excited to see that you guys are now offering it publicly. That was really cool. Very
Or
cool.
will be, you mean in terms of
Yeah.
the you mean wave impeccability with a private group, is that what you mean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was
It's slow getting there, because I'm trying to finish all the other courses in the Mourners project, and I'm getting there. But it's definitely, as soon as I'm able, that's what I will do. So and then it will be just a subscription, probably $50 a month, because I figured that $50 a month is what, for most people it's half a day's wages, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, if you can't afford a half a day's wages, you're not prepared to invest a half a day's wages, a morning or an afternoon. That's all I'm asking out of a month. If you're not prepared to invest that in your learning and growing, then you're not serious, and forget about it. Then I'm not interested in you. I don't want to be dealing with you then. Then you're not serious. So,
Yeah.
and I also will use that criteria to translate it into other currencies, because $50 here, it's not very much, but in some other places in the world, that's almost a month's bloody wages.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I will relate it into, okay, that's 10 Big Mac meals. Okay, fine. Or whatever, 10 Big Macs or 5 Big Mac meals. I'll use the Big Mac. There is such a thing as a Big Mac index, actually. It's really interesting. So
Yeah. I
they
saw
use it
that.
to
I saw that.
calculate equality in the world. So I'll treat it in the same way. What's in your localness? Okay, how many Big Macs? Okay, pay me in whatever rupees. For 10 Big Mac meals or 5 Big Mac meals, and there we go. So because half a day's wages, it doesn't actually equate. Because of the standards of living, you
Oh,
can't
I
go
know.
that directly. Yeah, yeah. You
I know.
can't use bread. You would think bread would be same thing. You can't use bread either. It's too complex bread. Even milk you can't really use. So because the Big Mac uses such a wide variety of ingredients, and the quality control insists on those things be the same, they tend to be quite equivalent. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Anyway.
Isn't it sad though that processed junk food sets a standard? My
There's
goodness.
a lot of, even in that industry, they have a McDonald's. They set the standard of impeccability in food preparation, because there's secret to that industry.
Yes, there
It
is.
isn't to make good food, but it is to not make bad food.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
whole industry is built on that. You don't have to have gourmet, but don't ever make bad food. Never. When you go to McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to get, and you can depend on it. Or Burger King or any other fast food place. So,
Consistency.
big deal. Consistency. Exactly.
Consistency.
Exactly. And they are very scrupulous about energy management.
Oh my
in
goodness.
the the way they do design the whole thing, and the productivity and all this. I mean, it's a factory. So yeah, there's a lot to learn from McDonald's. And actually, if you really go into the Ray Kroc and how he set it up and all it's part
Mhm.
of business studies, that they study how he revolutionized
It
stuff.
is.
He did a lot of stuff that was very cool. It was very cool.
It is. It is. So,
Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. I'm particularly keen though to get back to this thing with your father, to
okay.
shift the perspective, to understand that what your father did was absolutely horrible and rubbish.
It
However,
was.
there's also value in it. There can be value in the horrible and the rubbish in a peculiar way, like understanding things from the inside, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. to actually experience this and to know you can survive it. Again, to say, look, I feel that I can survive anything. I'm a survivor. Oh, yeah, really? You really believe that? Yeah, really? Okay, well, I bet you if you were going and you be sexually abused by your father, we'll see how you survive that. We're up in heaven as angels talking about this stuff. And they say, yeah, really? Okay, well, let's see. And then you go and you challenge it and you see, here you are. So we don't know what happens when we aren't in this particular bubble reality, forgetting the beginners of things. But I suspect that kind of stuff happens regularly. Or we just do it to ourselves to say, look, I want to understand this disease from the inside, but I don't want to particularly be the abuser. I want to be the victim. So I can really understand both sides. So it's very cool. Very
Yeah.
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 Different way of thinking
I
about it.
wrote the question down, and I will pop on Friday. I'll watch for it. I have notifications set up anyway. So you said it's on Friday morning. You guys are going to have this?
Yeah, it will be 5 a.m. your time.
5 a.m. my time. I'll be up.
Same as last week. Yeah.
Okay. 5 a.m. my time. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, again, too, but really think about it, because that question, why did I choose that father? And assume you did so deliberately. What were the good reasons for me choosing that father? And you're the only one who can really know this. But first of all, you have to assume that there are good reasons. So just assume there are. It's hypothetical. Assume there are. It's now the question of finding them. And that will be quite transformative. Yeah.
Okay.
In this grand learning, doesn't make what he did right or good. No, absolutely not. Right. But it means that there was some value in it for you, and you deliberately chose it, even though it's wrong for him.
Yeah.
Even though it's wrong for him, there was a bigger reason for you. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I've known people to do things. Yeah. By the way, I've known people to do things which have been very injurious and stressful and completely problematic for themselves. But essentially, that saved the soul of the other person.
Really?
Yeah. So let's think of this in this context with your father, right? If you had been somebody where he's indulging himself, and you resist and kick and scream and fuss and bother and all this, right? And now he can sort of feel vindicated because, well, if somebody's resisting, then you feel, okay, well, they deserve this crap, right? But if you get to do something that you know is wrong, and you see that the person you're doing it to is just a sweet, nice, good person, yeah. Now think of the guilt that comes from that. The awareness, the realization, yes? You have no way to rationalize and legitimize your distortion, because that's what people typically do in situations like that, right? They find somebody, oh, but they nasty, they bitchy, they squirming and kicking, well, they deserve it, or some shit like this, right? So, but when they don't, then, wow, now it's all on you. So at some point in his journey as a soul, there's going to come that realization to say, oh my crap, this really, yes, I may have gotten my jollies off, but at what price? Is this right? And then that pressure shifts his soul to seeing, to transgress like that against your conscience and do what's wrong. The price is just too high, so you showed him, you forced that realization in a way. No,
I would hope that I did. Yeah,
exactly.
I would hope that I did.
I mean, we can't say for sure, but we would hope at some point, whether it's now in that life, in this life or next one or whenever, but at some point that that truth is going to come there, that pressure, because that's a very hard thing to deny and be aware of, So towards the end of when before you moved away and it stopped, was there a progression and a change in his rationale, his justification, his demeanor, anything, or was it always just the same?
No, he never changed. No, no, because even as an adult, this was one of the things that always shocked me, and it was one of my more recent memories. But he and my stepmom came to Nebraska to attend Larry and I's wedding, and anyways, it was like the day before our wedding, and he got me alone in the kitchen, which I really was shocked at because I never left myself in any place alone with him intentionally. Well, anyways, he found me alone in the kitchen and he approached me and he's brought up the past and he said, well, I know that, all that really upset you. He goes, he said, but you have to admit it felt good, right?
There you go. There you go. You see that? That's what I was asking about, Sher. That's exactly right there. It's not your response that's of issue, it's his question. The question implies that there is a seed in his awareness that he's looking to justify it now. He's become aware that this is not right. He's asking you to justify his own internal. When people say things like that, they're talking about themselves internally. It's not to you necessarily.
Yeah.
Right?
I had no response. I just told him that the only thing I could say was no, it didn't. And I just moved out of the kitchen. I moved away and I made sure that
How did he react to your no?
he just snickered. He just chuckled, kind of snickered, scoffed like, okay, sure,
Like trying to minimize it, trying to make out that it's not really true. Right.
Yeah.
And those snickers are denials of truth. It's people trying to turn a truth into an untruth. That's what that is, right? So he knows, and you see my point here, because that psychology is one that's stuck in a bubble, that where their logic is self-reinforcing because it's inside this mirror bubble, right? So they don't see it from a bigger perspective. But that question reveals that he is seeing that, because initially when he goes into it, he justifies it, well, but you're going to enjoy it too, and but no. And so now, but no, sorry, you're wrong here. Your justification bullshit is just that, the bullshit.
Yeah.
But think of this longer term in his brain. People cannot ignore the truth. They can try and suppress it, but it can never be eliminated. So at some point it bubbles back up. So that incident, and that was the last time you said, right? Before you left.
Yep.
That's going to eat at him like a cancer.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, well,
so I'm trying to say that whole, if you look at this from a soul point of view, and we say, okay, we're a bunch of angels, and we're sitting up in heaven, and we're saying, all right, look, you got to go and do some good, some unpleasant good. It's part of being an angel. Sorry, okay, we draw lots. All right, here we go. And this is what we're going to do. Yeah, we've got a soul who is stuck in this indulgence bubble, right? They just think doing what gives them pleasure is okay and good. And they don't see the cost of just indulging themselves. They're completely stuck in a self-centered loop, right?
Okay.
That's it. They're completely inside that bubble. How do we break them out of it?
How do we break them out of that?
How do you break them out of that? Exactly. It requires something extreme. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does putting them in jail help?
Nothing.
Exactly, because they're just going to be sitting there lusting after it over and over and over and over again. They have to come at it in some way, come at it in themselves, right? Now, in this case, where you never really put up the kind of resistance and, kicked and screamed and fussed and shouted, you just kind of accepted it and got through it, right? You didn't say, I am enjoying it, but you didn't say, I'm not specifically. You left it for him to come and ask that question, right? He had to make this determination. So in other words, he started to think about it. He actually, that question that he asked you, it had conscience as a part of it, where all of his actions before, conscience was never a part of it. Yes?
Yeah. Right.
That question, because yes, he was afraid of getting caught, but that's not necessarily conscience. That's just self-preservation. He doesn't think what he's doing is wrong. He just thinks society thinks it's wrong, and society is wrong on it, right? But in his mind, it's okay, except when it came to that question. When he came to that question, that was the first time really, or at least that is expressing it, where conscience is a part of the equation. Now, is that a major achievement in the life of that particular soul from an angel's point of view?
Yeah, it would be.
You see my point? It's a
it
huge deal. It's the crack that leads further. That's all you need, is that little crack. You know that egg is going to break open at some point. It has to, because there's the weakness. The pressure is there. He cannot deny this. Oh, but she said no. He can try and bullshit himself, and she meant it. He knows that the bullshit that he fed himself is a complete and utter lie. And of course, once it starts to crack like that, it goes more and more. You know how it is once you have those first inklings of things, and they lead to more and more, leads to more. So that's all that's needed. And see, now then you got pulled out, and your angel said, okay, you've now got other lessons to learn. Now you've got to learn how to deal with this stuff, how to be a survivor, how to cope for yourself, and how to shift your own psychology, how to learn of your own accord, rather than having learning from outside, to choose for yourself, to self-determine. Yes.
Okay. Now I'm following you.
So when you look at your life from this angel perspective, it's like, oh my God, what a magical ride that you took, because you said, hey, instead of me learning this stuff over, 1,000 lifetimes, little bit by little bit, no, fuck, I want to learn it all in one big gulp and get it over and bloody done with. Yeah.
Yep. Boy, did I ever.
Exactly. I mean, think of it this way, Sher. The profound awareness shifts and changes, and these deep soul lessons that you learned, boy, would you like to be without them?
No.
How do you learn them easily? How do you just, can you say for yourself that you can deliberately choose to have that awareness? It's almost impossible. So if you need to learn it, and if you're stuck in a loop like your father, you need extremes to break you out of that loop, because otherwise it just becomes self-perpetuating, and you can be stuck for fucking forever in this crap.
Okay.
And that is a fate worse than death.
Yeah, and that's why I chose to get it all at once. I wanted to get it
and
all
to
at once.
break out of those loops, whatever they are.
Yeah.
A loop that says I can't choose for myself. That's a very powerful loop. I've got to learn from others, not about myself. The I can loop, and the uselessness loop as well. To break out of that, there's all sorts of loops that we can get caught up in. And all of your extreme life broke you out of so many psychological belief loops. Yeah, belief feeling loops.
And in angel time, I'm
That's the
thinking
whole point of feeling.
it's only taken a matter of probably days or something.
Exactly, a few minutes. Exactly.
A few minutes,
A few
yeah.
seconds.
In
Exactly.
terms of human life, it's a lifetime. So
Exactly. When I look back at my memories, I don't remember the experience of time.
I don't either.
I don't remember the experience of it. I might remember okay, I was in the army, and it was it was slow and it was boring, and I'm like sitting there every day. Oh, when is this going to end? Right?
Yeah,
I can remember thinking that, but I don't remember the feeling.
No,
of
something
that slowness of time.
No,
right. I mean, to me, I spent 2 years in the army. I was conscription. I didn't choose to go, and it was 2 years out of your life that you're setting aside. It was a long time. It was very slow. But it just went by like that, so, yeah. So when you think of things, we only experience time in the now. When you passed and done, and your angel self knows this, at some point you're going to look back and say, well, okay, I learned that great. What I learned stays with me. The experience does not.
That's it right there. And
that's it. Right
me,
there.
it has been becoming more and more critical to stay within the present moment at all times.
Exactly.
I mean, and I know my mind will frequently does whatever it does. I mean, I'll see something that reminds me of something in my past, or I read it. And so it doesn't take much effort to bring me right back to the present moment now. It used to, but not now. Just because I've been practicing at it. So this is a lot to think about for the next couple of days. This is
absolutely. Now let's go one more point. That's a big point here, right? And I see this regularly. It is, we're talking about masculine and feminine, right? And we can easily get stuck in masculine or feminine loops, right? Because we've had millennia and aeons of conditioning over and over of the same crap, right? Men are superior, women are inferior.
Yep.
Right. This has been pushed into the thing. Yep. Now it's equally detrimental for the masculine as it is for the feminine. Right. I mean, it messes up guys. They don't learn because, well, I don't need to learn. I'm superior. It's like ridiculous. And then they get screwed over.
Yeah.
Anyway, but women believe that their learning comes from men, from others, so they don't learn for themselves.
We learn from our intuition. We learn from our we're
You
so
learn because you choose to.
yeah, but we're so sensory. I feel like anyways, I learned from my environment, from whatever is
Right,
in
but
my environment at the moment. So
right, but the fact is that you can be the one who's in charge of your learning, not that learning has to come from outside of you. Right?
yes,
So
yes,
also women feel that they, as a survivor, they are dependent on men to survive. Right? I mean, this is it's taught, right? I mean, it's part of our DNA culture has been over the ages. The man is the provider and the woman is the caretaker, the home, and all the stuff, right? But
right.
it's their survival is thus dependent on a man.
Mhm.
That's a lesson that you learned the hard way. It's not so.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, when you got out of your father and then you left home and you ran away and you started doing your own thing, what did you do? You started to do you got into the relationships with the men who used you because you thought, well, I need to. My survival is dependent on some man. And eventually, when you learned the really hard way, no crap, no, this is just absolute shit. I'm not. And eventually, you got out of that. And finally with Larry, when Larry died and you said, no, I'm not going to go through this again, and you were alone, and then that shift, the uselessness, and that's when all those lessons started to fall into place, and you said, oh my God, I'm the one who can take charge of me. I can choose for me, right?
Yes.
I'm not
I
dependent
do.
on some man.
No, I'm not.
I could
Absolutely not.
so all of the shit starting with your father, and with the the dancing and the prostitution and all this crap, all of it forced you out of that horrible loop of believing that you're dependent on men for your survival. Now you've won your independence of being, in other words, as a result of all of this crap. Yes.
Yes.
Now, independence of being is where it's all at. We cannot really have freedom without independence of being. It's not
That's
possible. It's not possible. So if you think of the goodness of all of the stuff in the capital G, bigger picture makes sense. You say, oh my goodness. Yes, sure, you really needed to learn that lesson. You were stuck in this millennia long bubble of just in your DNA that's been programmed over and over and over, this rubbish, this nonsense that you are dependent on
generational
others for your
trauma.
survival. Yeah, not just for your survival, but your learning.
No, I'm
Say
serious.
again?
That's the answer probably is to end this generational trauma.
Exactly. Never mind generational. I mean, this goes back to forever. I mean, this is just
Yeah.
a cycle of the feminine and the masculine cycle. We want to break those.
Yes.
We want to learn to be people. We want to learn to be more than people. Even we want to learn to be sentient beings. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, and I think I'm really pretty much there with you. Everybody is hopping on this bandwagon of feminine, masculine energy, and I'm hearing something that is really rubbing me wrong, which is, that they want men to go back to their masculine energy and be the log, be the provider for
Crap for that.
we just freaking fought to get out of that, and now you're bringing us back into it.
Exactly. Exactly.
No.
I mean, it's an indulgence. It's a cop out where people are saying, oh, this is safe and it gives me purpose and it gives me ego. Crap, be independent, be your own bloody person, don't be dependent on freaking labels. Be appropriate and be everything. Be the ability to be everything. You're just limiting yourself. Not good. Yeah. I mean, okay, Mr. Man, you think it's grateful to be a provider, but what about the person that you're providing for? How good is this for them and their psychology? It's terrible for them. You're making them a dependent.
Thank you.
How is this good in any way? Yeah, exactly. I mean,
codependency.
Exactly. How do I want to be somebody who forces somebody to be dependent on me? How is that cool?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
No,
cool at all.
and that's what I did. That's what I bought into that. I bought into that myth, that, okay, Larry's the provider. He, bless his soul and rest his heart. He wanted to be that. He wanted to be that provider, and I allowed it. To my detriment.
And it screwed you over because he didn't do what he needed to do. He didn't pay the bill. He didn't take care of the insurance, all the stuff. So you paid the price for that. What a powerful lesson.
Yep.
It took your whole bloody lifetime to realize this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So-
look, it's nice to think somebody's going to provide for you because, well, it's cozy and it's comfortable. But if you truly are concerned about your freedom and your learning, you know this is just a cop out. This is an indulgence, no different to your father's indulgence.
That's
You're
true.
looking for your own pleasure at the cost of learning, at the cost of sensibility, at the cost of sobriety, at the cost of ethics, at the cost of independence of being. Your father was as much a slave to his sexual desires as you were a slave to the idea that you're providing has come from somebody else. Yeah, it's convenient, it's nice, it's fun, but is it good? No, no.
No, it's not.
Right?
Maybe
In
that's
the
why I also don't, I don't miss, I am not missing having somebody around here. I am not. I've been really,
Exactly, because you have now achieved your own independence of being, freedom.
yep. Here's
Yeah,
balance
cool.
right there.
So, yeah, so I'm trying to say in the bigger things, right? When we look at the big picture and we say, how does this make sense? Capital M, capital S. We've just made sense of your whole life from a soul point of view, yes?
Yes. we
Including
did.
your father's part in it. Yeah. So now that you understand your father's part and your part in him, potentially really putting that crack in his egg, that's all you need is that crack. You can move on. You did your angel work, and potentially he is an angel who helped you by doing horrible things.
I think so.
Think of that.
I think so.
Think of it that way. Think of it that way. Yeah, right? I mean, what would you do to, right? If you were an angel and you really saw one of your children and you said, wow, man, I really got to help them out. They're stuck in this bubble, but I can't go and pamper them and I can't go and give them the answers because that doesn't help. I've got to really force them to learn by themselves.
Yep. And that's what I
What
have to
would
do
you
here.
do? What would you do? Yeah,
Let them go through extreme lessons.
exactly. Also, look at the one of the other things. I was just talking about this with Sue, right? That fear of honesty is a disease that's taught us. Yes,
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
So your father says, you know what? Sure, in your angels, and he says to you up there in heaven, really, you need to learn to be more honest. What do you mean? Well, I'll show you. And then you get the situation. And here you are. I mean, if you had not subscribed, if you had honesty as an absolute no, I can't lie for you. Sorry. Even though you're my father, I can't lie. That whole thing would have imploded. It would have stopped right there.
It would have. It
You
would
see
have.
my point, though.
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to say is, from a soul lesson point of view, if we can leverage our integrity to this point, that we say, no, there are things that are more important than just listening to my parents. I've been taught over centuries to be obedient, but obedience is a crock of shit for the most part. It's a manipulative tool,
Yeah.
right?
it
So
is.
I have to unlearn what I've been taught for centuries. Obedience, obedience, obedience. That's what screwed you over, literally, right? Is this obedience paradigm. Yeah?
Exactly.
Instead of saying, no, my integrity, my conscience, my honesty, this is more important than obedience by far. I can't do things that are wrong, even if it's obedient.
That's what feminine energy is obedience.
And it's crap. And it's crap. And
obedience.
masculine energy tries to impose obedience. It's equally crap. It's rubbish. It's all crap. This whole obedience paradigm is absolute rubbish.
Oh my God.
Now, think of this in the context of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, Adam and Eve. That's
First
a deal.
prime big deal higher consciousness lesson to me is that why did God put those two trees? It's not just one tree that they couldn't eat from, there were two of them, right? Why did he put those trees in the middle of the garden? He didn't hide them away, made them very obvious, put them right back in the middle.
Because he knew
right?
what was
Because what's the bigger lesson? The bigger lesson was disobedience.
Yeah.
It's necessary. When things are right and appropriate, it is necessary to be able to be disobedient. Why? Not because you are being disobedient in its own self, but because you are choosing for yourself deliberately.
So
right? And you can only acquire awareness when you choose deliberately for yourself, knowing there could be negative consequence. Right?
Okay.
So deliberate choice was the big lesson there. Sensibility. By the way, people think that the serpent tempted Eve and led her astray. The serpent didn't say one thing that was untrue, not one single thing.
That's good point.
It's part of the myth that people misunderstand that story, right? And they weren't kicked out of the Garden of Eden as a punishment for eating from the tree. That never happened. They were kicked out so they wouldn't eat from the tree of life and live forever, ever, and become one of us. Yeah. So they wouldn't prematurely become gods. Yeah, people don't know this, right? They just assume, oh, they were kicked out as a punishment. No. They were kicked out. Right.
CJ asked the other day, I had to really chuckle at this and marvel at his wisdom. He said, Grandma, if Adam and Eve is true, he said, number one, he goes, does that make you and I, brother and sister? He said, because how did they have kids and how did their kids have kids? He said, so if that's wrong, he goes, then are they telling us that it's okay to marry like our moms or our brothers or sisters? And I'm like, no.
Exactly.
It's a myth.
So yeah, there's so many holes in their stories. But if we look past the way people assume things to be, and we really pay attention to the story, and we see it, oh, but there's a greater sensibility here. That's a story about the necessity for deliberate disobedience when it's right and sensible. And eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge and good of evil, the fruit of that knowledge is awareness, right?
Yeah.
So here was your choice: be obedient and live in unawareness, or choose to be aware deliberately. Okay, being aware is not a piece of cake. But if you want to live in the Garden of Eden, all protected and mollycoddled, well, fine. Okay, live in unawareness. But it's hollow, and it's not very powerful, and it's risky and dangerous. It's vulnerable, right? So it's a profound story to me. When we look past the way that people have interpreted it and go to the roots of it, it's very cool. Very cool. Very cool story. So do you choose awareness over unawareness?
Oh, I choose awareness.
Exactly. Now, what if you realize that you are stuck in a bubble of unawareness and you're looping round and round and round? You're going to do something radical to break you out of that, yes? And that's exactly what you've done. That's why you chose that father and that mother. It's very cool. It's very cool. It's very cool. When we look at this in this context, and you're going to see the more, well, now that you've already started to see some good reasons, when you go back into your deep private self and say, what was I forced to learn? How does it, and then you say, oh my God. It's a very powerful thing, Sher. Very, very powerful thing. It's really cool.
This question is going to stick with me for another day or two. I really want to look into this one. So
it's a powerful thing. It is unbelievably, ridiculously powerful. By the way, how are you physically? How's it going with the body stuff?
Much better. I mean, I'm honestly, I've been exercising ever since I started moving. I've got stairs here, so I have to climb the stairs multiple times a day.
Oh, very good. Very good. Extra bonus. Extra bonus.
Hunter wants to go outside like several times in a day, and we've got a really nice compound here that I can walk in. So I walk multiple times a day, plus up and down the stairs. I'm changing over my diet. I'm not going to say it's a diet, because what I'm doing is I'm learning how to eat instead of starving myself, because that's what I've done for all my life, is not eat, which of course then sent my body into survival mode.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Between the adrenaline, the cortisol, and starvation, I really did a number on my body. So anyway, starting with exercise and starting with,
you really have to get the body to be comfortable with starving. So you're not really starving, you've got all those fat supplies to work off. That's how the body system works. Exactly. So you have to change the way you feel literally when you're hungry. So yeah, it's very powerful.
Well, again, that's starting with my relationship with food. So I am working on developing an interest and a relationship with food. And it's interesting. It's interesting to being able to appreciate food, so that I can actually get to a point where I can enjoy it instead of fearing it. So it's taking some time. I don't, I don't know. I'll be honest. Jocelyn's a nice person, but I got kind of turned off by the whole, yes, I'm good at what I do, but I'm going to charge you up the nose for it. And I understand that everybody has to get paid. We all do. But if the only interest in a client is when they've got money or don't have money, then no, I'm sorry. That's not cool for me. So I'm working with a friend of mine, and she also has issues with relationship with food. She's worked with it for many, many years and has managed to get off her weight, but that's where we decided to start, is redeveloping my relationship, my approach to food, instead of ignoring it, fearing it, etc. So but yeah, the exercise part is great. I'm feeling like I can move again, which is really good. And I'm getting sleep. I sleep all night long, and I'm not afraid when I go to bed. So, that's all.
That's very important. Not afraid when you go to bed. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh,
now think of that. Over the centuries, would you imagine that, for most women, most men, most individuals, most people, this is a part of our psychology. Over aeons, we go to bed afraid. That's why we live in caves and we want to build castles and we have all the shit. We're always living in this fear to go to sleep. But at some point, you get to a point where you're at now. It's like, man, this is a major victory, is it not?
Right. It is. It is. It really, truly is. To be able to lay down, go to sleep within minutes, and I don't wake up the entire night until my alarm goes off in the morning. Whereas
when you started this life,
what's that?
I said, when you started this life, did you believe that you can learn, you as an individual?
Yes.
You've proven it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know it now that you can learn, right? I mean, most people, they think they're learning, they have to be taught, has to come from outside. If they don't know, they have to get it somewhere. No, you can figure it out. You can learn, you can change. So
you can figure it out, and you can listen to your intuition. And I do firmly listen to my intuition now.
Not just your intuition, but you can use your logic. You can use your reason. You can think things through to the end. You can figure it out, for crikey's sake.
That's one of my favorite things to do, by the way, is think everything through to the end from multiple perspectives and avenues.
Exactly. I mean, right there, those two. Multiple perspective shifting and thinking it through to the end. Those two tools right in themselves are transformative of everything.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Okay. I have to scoot. I've got a call that I've got coming up here in 30 minutes. So need to get prepared for that. But Friday, I want to hop on Friday morning to that call. And then do we want to start our the believing and feeling on the same day, Wednesday? Is today Wednesday?
It's up to you. It's up to you. Truly. Okay. You can come on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, any one of those. But whichever day you come, that's fine. You choose. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the same day either. If you want to make it the same day, sure, that's fine too.
Okay. All right. It sounds good.
Brilliant. By the way, your comment there, you said this program for me wasn't life-changing. I'm assuming you mean wasn't only life-changing.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah. That's all right. Just added in as an edit, but I do like your comment there. Thank you very much. That's
cool. Thank you. Yeah,
because somebody may misread that, you know what I mean? So
that's true.
Only. Just add in the only there. Yeah.
I'll go fix that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you very much for the comment. That's very cool.
You have a good afternoon, okay?
You too, sir. You too.
Okay. I'll talk
to you. Wish you soon. Whenever you're ready. Again, no pressure. Please don't feel pressure. Just do it when the feeling comes and when you have the time and the energy's there, then do it and then we get going. So,
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Very cool.
Thanks.
I love it, sir. I love it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.